Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 114. It's Wales against England in Cardiff as England chase a sixth consecutive win in this fixture. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Guys, welcome back. Today is a massive game day, of course. It always is, this fixture. I will say it's not as big as Dublin, but Dublin is done. It's in the past, and this is the one that's in front of us now. And to join me to discuss this game, to deal with what happens at half-time and see what the end result looks like is, of course, Dan. Hi, mate.
Game day. Wales, today, you claim you've forgotten how to lose. Today we will fucking remind you.
Very nice. Very poetic.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. I'm a bit of a wordsmith.
There's been a lot of chat. I mean, the media is going a bit bananas about how big this fixture is, how Cardiff is. I mean, they're almost going as far as saying fortress. They're not using that word wisely. But, a lot is being made of the Cardiff factor. And I do have to kind of point out the recent results in Cardiff for Wales have not been great in this fixture.
It's interesting because I've just recently read a thing from Eddie saying this game's our most important game because it's the next game, and that's how we're treating it. I actually think this is bigger. I don't think England are being drawn into all this hype about the sort of England-Wales, the historical stuff, like Wales potentially having their longest win streak. I think England are going about their business, and I love that. I think that's a really good approach. Yeah,
historical is probably the operative word here. I was going to do it at the end. Maybe we'll quickly do it now before we go into the episode. I've got a few little stats. I know that Wales are obviously going for they're looking to because they've matched their current record, haven't they? So they're looking to set a new record of the longest win streak. But if you turn to this particular fixture, and we look, just look at this century. England 18, Wales 8. In the Six Nations, England 13, Wales 6. You've got to go back to the 70s, and prior to that, you've got to go back to the sort of the 1900s to about 1914 or something to see any real significant Welsh win streaks against England. England are currently on a 70% win rate against Wales, and of course, Eddie is unbeaten. And the biggest thing, actually, England, if we're talking records and stats, England are chasing down a sixth consecutive win in this fixture. You've got to go back to 2013 to see Wales take a win.
Do you believe that has any impact on today?
No, not at all. But I think if there's any danger that talk of stats and records and everything else, is weighing on any of the players, I don't think you have to look very hard as the England backroom staff to say, guys, forget that. Like if you want to buy into records and stats, have a look at these.
Yeah.
These speak far more loudly than what did Wales do back in the 70s? Come on, Wales, let's do it today. We're talking about the turn of the century. Guys who certainly in the latter stages of that who are still around, still either playing or involved in some way, as opposed to guys who are old men or not around anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. I went out for a few beers last night, and a guy I was speaking to, sort of a friend of a friend sort of thing, having a bit of a bromance talking rugby, and we were talking about sort of this fixture. We were just going through the teams and things, and really just we couldn't figure out how England would lose. And then I was like, I like this guy. And then we inevitably got talking about the 2003 World Cup. I was like, oh, mate, what were you doing? He's like, it was my 5th birthday. I was like, get the fuck out of my house.
Are you allowed to be drinking beers? Why was he in your house?
I know, because a few of the guys came back afterwards for a few beers. I didn't pull him. He was well out of my league. But I was just like, 5th birthday, because I was telling him about how you and me at the Rue Bar and things in Bristol. Nice. And I was like, no, that's not all right, but you're that young.
Mate, you're hanging out with the wrong people.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to relive my youth.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move along. I normally do this at the beginning. We'll do it now quickly. We've had a couple of 5-star reviews or ratings. They haven't left reviews, but thank you for those. Always nice to get those. They're the ones that obviously have an impact. It's great, of course, if you get the chance, guys, to be able to read out the things you have to say. But at the very least, dropping us a rating is brilliant. We've had a comment from someone on YouTube. We don't obviously make videos of these, but we do put the episodes on YouTube just as audio. So you can stare at our logo for an hour and listen to us on YouTube. And what says, "This is so underrated. You are my favourite podcast." So obviously appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Whoever that is, you're a legend. Thank you very much, and thank you for the 5-star reviews as well.
And then we have had a comment from Tom Berry on Facebook, who's one of our listeners who's been in touch before. He's the one who's not a fan of the quizzes, but he says...
It's not, but I like them.
Yeah, he says, "Great last pod, lads, and no quizzes." Bit of chat about Hartley returning or not, and the captaincy, etc. I'm starting to wonder whether he's lined up as the understudy to Eddie as mentor post-World Cup, if things go well. So much chat about how great he is behind the scenes, and obviously gets on with Eddie and Faz. With the right lieutenants around him, I think it could work. Thoughts?
Wow. That never even occurred to me.
No, me neither. It's a big call. Quite possibly. I don't know.
I can't see it.
Maybe a bit soon.
Yeah, I think maybe a bit soon. I think with maybe someone like Jono, who...
Well, that proves him. I think maybe understudy is... I mean, I'm reading between the lines, and I'm thinking he's not suggesting that Hartley is the next head coach, but maybe more like involved somehow while Eddie's still there in some capacity, which I potentially could see. But I think it would require Hartley to retire from rugby. Like you can't be saying like you keep playing for your club, but come on over. We're not going to select you, but you can be involved somehow. I don't think that's going to happen. It's
an interesting thought, though, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's it, because a couple of the problems, like you say, I think he'd had to retire, but also, it's the fact that if he is his understudy, Eddie will be leaving not that long after, and then it's kind of like, well, thanks for that, Dylan. See you later. Because I doubt a new coach would want, coach would want to do it his way.
But I tell you what, it would be, I look back to when they appointed Jono, and maybe it's hindsight, because at the time we all thought it was a great idea because of the 2003 result. But in hindsight, he would have been brilliant in some sort of, new role that they'd made for him, Jono, that is. As some sort of, ambassador, or there was a term that cropped up at the time, of what he should have been, kind of not the head coach, but the sort of the manager maybe, or I don't know, something, and just involved him somehow without him being the top dog, because he just doesn't have the coaching experience. And unfortunately for Jono, I think that England job has cost him any chance of. I mean, I'm sure he's quite happy now doing what he's doing, but if coaching was in his future, it wasn't after that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd almost have to start from scratch. I did feel a bit sorry for Jono, because you were asking so much from so little, but from Jono's point of view, you can't turn down the England job. Like, you'd be a fool to. So
no, that's true. Okay, let's move on then. So a couple of other things. So Shane Williams, through the BBC, said, he was quoted as saying, "England would beat the All Blacks right now.
Agreed.
But Wales are a different animal in Cardiff." How can you make comments like that when England have beaten Wales in Cardiff the last 2 times they've played them there? 3 out of the last 4 times.
I don't think Shane Williams is saying that means Wales will 100% win.
So therefore, I'm going to ask you, what animal? If they're a different animal in Cardiff, what animal is it? It's got to be soft and cuddly, isn't it?
Well, no, I mean, they're no longer a sheep; they're a lamb.
Oh, okay.
Wales are. Let's
a
be
ram.
honest.
A bit more aggressive, perhaps.
Not that far. Let's be realistic. This game, a lot of the time, like tradition, like if you're looking at stats form, that can go out the window. But I just don't see it today. I don't think England have been caught up in the hype. I don't think that England are going to be bothered by that. But Wales will throw everything on the line.
Yeah.
But that's fine, and that may get you for a certain amount. But for me, I look for Wales team. The Wales team is a good team. There's quality players, but I don't see it, mate. I don't see England losing.
Okay, in that case, so one last stat before we leave the stats alone for a bit, and perhaps one to appease any Welsh listeners we have. I'm not sure how many Welsh people are going to listen to the England Rugby Pod, but you never know. I saw this stat, which is perhaps slightly worrying. Wales won this fixture in 1949, 1959, 1969, 1979, 1989, 1999, and 2009.
You motherfucker! Like that. Why has that worried me?
I don't know. I'm the same. I'm like, there's no reason for it, but for some reason, that stat alone, I'm just like, oh god, is that just one too many coincidences? Looking at the sides, I can't see it. I just think this England side is too strong right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And the Welsh side, the thing we've got to bear in mind, the Welsh do have good players. They're not a poor side. Oh, mate, I hate the fact you told me that stat. It changes nothing. But it's made me
and
think,
yet everything.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll affect your prediction when we get to that stage.
No, that won't. Today, I think for slight differences, even 2009, the impact of the occasion and things were so huge. I think these days, it's so, like the preparation is so well done, so prepared, but actually that's what counts rather than how, how big occasion is it, how historical or anything.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm relying on. I 100% believe England will win today. I think it will be a lot closer than form would suggest.
I don't know. I'm not convinced. But anyway, you just said that what you're looking at the Wales team, and it's a quality side. So with that in mind, a little new Six Nations feature. This is one because of something I saw Adam Jones and Joe Marler do. I've tweeted this, so some of you may have already seen it. If you haven't, check out our Twitter at England Rugby Pod. But Adam Jones and Joe Marler have put together their combined England and Wales 15. Pick yours, and we'll say based on the two teams that are playing today. So not just, so we're ignoring injured players like Marrow and Mako. Can we do that?
So yeah, I think we can. So I'm also going from
no. You're not. No. We'll include the players that are sort of that have been involved in this Six Nations to date. So Marrow and Mako can be included.
Front five is England, but with the slight swap, we'd have Mako at prop and Marrow in the row.
So you keep all England front five.
All England front five for me.
Okay. Adam Jones and Joe Marler went with Ken Owens at 2.
Nah, Jamie George is better.
Okay, and they also went with Alan Wynne. Interestingly, they didn't include Marrow at all. They went Alan Wynne and Courtney.
But could that potentially be because Marrow's injured?
Well, maybe, except they went with Mako in the front row. So confusing. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm going front five England.
Yeah.
Back row, I've got Tipperick in at 7. I've got Billy at 8.
Yeah.
I've probably got Moriarty at 6, actually.
Okay, interesting.
Ben Youngs, Owen Farrell, Manu, England backs. I don't know if I've stopped.
I mean, they weren't massively dissimilar. They actually went Mark Wilson at 6. And they Youngs, Farrell, as you said, they went Tuilagi and Davies in the centres.
Oh, yeah, actually, in fairness, I would do that. Yeah, I was with Pete Davies. I think Davies has probably slightly got the edge on Henry Slade.
I agree. They then went Johnny May on one wing, and they went George North on the other wing, with Liam Williams at fullback. Now, I would be tempted to say Liam Williams, keep him at fullback, but put Daly in for North on the wing.
Yeah, to me, North is still living off reputation too much.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Actually, I'll agree with you there, mate, because
Liam Williams is quality. Jonathan Davies is quality. Justin Tipperick is quality. And I pretty much agree with you. I mean, maybe Ken Owens is a fair shout, but I think it's close. It's a close call there. But I'm good with what you're suggesting. But it's an interesting one, and so what we'll do is midweek we'll go back and we'll do an Ireland and French version because we obviously didn't do that for those two games, and then we'll do this for each of the games going forwards because it's quite an interesting one just to sort of see how do we see England compared to the opposition in terms of where we'd make changes, and I think it's very telling that not only are we saying it, but actually Adam Jones, Welsh blood, and he's not picking a lot of Welsh players in a combined 15.
Yeah, which I get because you've also got to look at form. The back three is an interesting one. I think I'm with you because Liam Williams is class, and maybe have him and Daly on the wing. George North to me is a good player. There's not much about, but he's not world class at the moment. Johnny May is world class. Elliot Daly is world class.
Yeah. We've said it before about Elliot Daly. He's one of those players that you need him on the pitch.
Yeah, I agree. I think 100%.
And so whether he was the fullback and Liam Williams was on the wing, or Liam Williams was at fullback and Daly was on the wing, I think you need those two, and then obviously Johnny May. So that's your back three, clear cut. And then I think Manu with Jonathan Davies as opposed to Henry Slade. You need Youngs and Farrell at 9, 10. You need Billy at 8. Tipperick, fair play, have him at 7. But Mark Wilson they've got at 6. And I kind of agree. I wouldn't be horrified at the thought of Moriarty at 6, but I think Wilson is doing big things at the minute. I'm not on the Alan Wynne train like so many. So I think I don't think I would be desperate to have him. They obviously did. It seems to be every Welsh supporter's first call. I mean, I've seen him put in as top 3 second row in the world, but I just don't see that.
No, you've got Vitalik, Ryan, and Marrow. Alan Wynne is a legend of the game, and he's a great player.
But legends by their very nature are kind of historic. They're from the past.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Alan Wynne can still perform at the top level.
Yeah,
but there's better players than him at the moment.
We talked about it with Mike Brown. If you looked at a graph of his kind of quality over time, it peaked in the past.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. So it's interesting. About 3 Welsh players make the England team if you're going for an ultimate 15.
Yeah, I think so.
It'll be interesting to compare that to the Ireland alternative because despite the result in the Ireland game, I think a few more Irish players might certainly cause us more problems in the decision making process.
Yeah, so I think the Ireland one will be interesting to do. I'm not as bothered as to whether we do the French or not. I'll take it or leave it, but the Ireland one
you'll take it. I've told you we're doing it, and so now you'll take it.
Fair enough.
Like you did last night with the young men that you invited to your house.
Well, they were rugby fans. What are you meant to do?
It's taking a weird turn.
This has got a bit feral. Right. So what? Yeah. Sorry. Carry on.
Well, I was going to say, where do we go from here? I mean, I'm not sure what else we can say except
England team. So we haven't discussed the team. I think we're happy with that.
We talked about the team midweek. And obviously we were predicting, and we haven't seen any changes to that. Oh well, the one change we saw was Brad Shields has come in for Nathan Hughes.
I like it.
I think that's the only thing. Yeah, I do too. I think we talked. We've said a few times. I've said a few times. Certainly, Nathan Hughes. I just don't feel like he has the impact that looking at him he should have. He's supposedly a like for like replacement for Billy, and I don't see that. My only actually, no, I was going to say my only concern is what do we do if something happens to Billy? But of course, Mark Wilson has proven at 8, so we have options there. So and you can't start planning for 2 or 3 injuries in the same position. So
yeah, I think if something happens to Billy, we do lose some carrying. We lose Mako. Yeah, it's interesting actually.
If we lose Billy, we lose Mako. What are you on about?
No, we've lost Mako.
Yeah, we have.
So it looks like a big carrier. But then, like the likes of Genge and Sinclair, those guys have got a bit of a aggression and carry to them. So yeah,
sure. Courtney Laws with his extra stone of muscle.
Jesus Christ. If he keeps putting on weight, he's going to become too dangerous.
Too dangerous. Can you be too dangerous? I think going through our team, I think you've got carriers and Sinclair, Laws, Cruiser to a degree, Mark Wilson, Billy, and then obviously Manu in the backs. And then, coming off the bench, you got Genge. Is Harry Williams a carrier? Little bit-ish. Brad Shields isn't so much. And you got Cokanasiga with, the option to bring on Cokanasiga, who I guess you would describe as a carrier. He's not looking so much to gas people on the outside, even if he can do it. He's looking to fucking smash through them.
I'm looking forward to him coming on.
So I think we've got a good. I think we've, considering the injuries and how important those two are. I think we're looking pretty strong, in spite of it.
Yeah, mate. I'm really looking forward to this game. I think this game will be like a brilliant match. I think it's a great test for England. I am not necessarily buying into the whole historical Wales in Cardiff. Yeah, they'll raise their game. They'll have that extra 1% because of the crowd, everything. I was wrong the other day. The roof, I can't remember if we played this on the podcast.
Is going to be open.
It's not closed.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that they don't ever get teams saying, "Yeah, go on." Hey guys, can we close the roof because it makes our fans much louder and we really like that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it makes it a bit harder.
Well, it's our choice. We're going to go with no.
Yeah. Well, and I love the way the Welsh always complain about it as well. Like, for God's sake, England, shut up.
Yeah. Why would we? Yeah. If you wanted to have the roof on at all times, you shouldn't have built an optional retractable roof. You should have built a fixed one. Do you not agree?
And rugby. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And rugby is a game played outside.
It is a game played out. Well, unless you've got the roof on and then it's kind of inside. But anyway, it won't be today. I doubt it will be in many games that Wales play. So, they need to move on. Prediction time, Dan. We need to leave these good people to prepare for the big game. And the best way to do that is to let them know what we think is going to happen.
So, when I was on the ESPN pod, that's right, the ESPN pod, I'm massive now. I'm big time.
Huge, mate.
Yeah. I said England by 12.
And are you sticking with that?
I think I have to, don't I?
Well, you probably should, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
No, I'll stick with it.
Okay, I'm going to say England by 17 with a bonus point.
Holy mate, nice. You went big. I was like,
I did go big.
Playing safe.
Well, I know we said no more stats, but England's largest ever winning margin against Wales in Cardiff was in 2003. And we obviously know what's significant about that year. So I'm going big because I feel like now is the time to set a new record. Wales are chasing a record. We're going to set a record of our own.
Yeah. How much was that by then? 16?
It was... I'll tell you the score. It was 43-9 to England.
Holy shit. I don't think we're going to win by that much.
No. Oh, yeah. It wasn't actually in this fixture. It wasn't Six Nations. It was a World Cup warm-up match, but nevertheless.
Oh, okay.
It was still massive.
Yeah, that's a big win. I don't think it'll go quite that far, but I really hope England do, because it's a great test for the World Cup. I really hope that they do not get caught up in any hype and anything, and just go out and play.
I agree, mate. Oh, it's difficult not to get caught up in all the hype, isn't it? But
As fans, for sure.
It's a huge fixture, but it shouldn't be as big as it's being made out to be. England should look at what they've already done and go, hang on, guys, we've got this. 2 strong wins, one of which was an absolute demolition of a team that Wales struggled to beat, and had to have a record comeback in order to do it.
Yeah, but equally, we gotta respect the fact that Wales are also 2 from 2.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So, it's huge. There's a massive half of rugby coming up now. We're going to leave you with the anthems, but before that, we're going to leave you with one of these.
Oh, gladiator! Come on, boys! Come on,
guys. Enjoy the first half, and we will be right back to discuss what's going on. Enjoy the anthems. Okay, this has been a little too close for comfort, but England in the lead. That's the most important thing. What are your thoughts, mate?
It's not quite as sexy as the first 2 games, but we don't look troubled.
I certainly feel less. I feel less kind of on edge as we neared the end of the first half than I did in the first sort of 10, 15 minutes when it was all just, I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And you know what it's like at the beginning of a game when you're just like, until it really gets going, you don't know where the game's going. And obviously there's only 7 points in it, but England feel a lot more in control going into half time than they have done at any other point in the game. It's been a brutally physical game. England not making a huge amount of mistakes. Tom Curry, for me, man of the match at about 20 minutes.
My God, he's ridiculous. He can't last the whole game. There's no way you can last the whole game with that much.
Oh, this is my thinking.
Work rate.
That's why Ben Curry hasn't been used yet. Because once Eddie wanted to get Tom Curry to this point, and then Ben Curry becomes his replacement, and then effectively he plays a whole game because they're the same person.
How shit is it for Ben Curry when basically I don't think they're identical, but obviously twins, and basically
they are. They're identical twins.
Tom's the better. Yeah. Hi Ben. Tom's the better version of you.
Yeah.
But,
you're exactly the same, but he's better.
He's just better.
To be fair, Ben Curry is a 6. Tom Curry is a 7, and I guess it's simply that England aren't looking for a 6 right now. But when you look at how good Tom Curry is, you've got to start thinking how long before they go, we need another one of these.
He's schooling Tipperick.
Oh,
he's making Tipperick is world class, and he's making him look mediocre.
So very quickly then, to go back to what we talked about in the first section of this, where we were picking our joint England-Wales team, Curry's back in for me instead of Tipperick.
Yeah, right now at half time. I mean,
no, that's
Curry
enough. I've seen enough.
Yeah,
I've seen enough.
But
Curry's been awesome. Johnny May, loving his schooling of Hadley Parks at the end there.
Yeah, just pick him up and out. Hadley Parks is meant to be the Bosch man as well, isn't he?
60 metre game.
One question I have for you: are we kicking too much, or are we kicking too early?
I think this. I think lots of people will say that we're kicking too much. I think it's a game plan. I think they're trying to get a sense of exactly how Wales defend. And put them on the back foot. And there was an interesting commentary before. They were saying, look, if England don't play the ball in their own half, if they always kick when they're in their own half, then they're rarely going to give away penalties that are in point scoring range. So yeah, I think there's a game plan in it. I think a lot of it is to do with identifying what the best plan of action is going to be in the second half in order to take full control of the game. I'm not too upset about it, but they are kicking a lot.
Yeah, they're kicking a lot, and my only issue is Liam Williams has those moments of magic.
He does, but even now, even with I think a lot of people will look at this and go, "Oh, how many tackles did England miss?" But we've talked about this before, but the type of blitz defence that England play, they're going to miss tackles. It's inevitable. They're going to miss more tackles, but they have cover. They can afford to take the chance that they miss tackles. And I feel like even though Liam Williams might be skipping around one or two, he's not making enough ground for it to worry me. So I feel like they've of course you can't plan for some moment of genius. I mean, Liam Williams is a world-class player. So yes, something could happen, but yeah, you can't plan for that. So I think they're doing the right thing, and I think at the moment they're trying to identify where's the best place to kick. Yeah, you don't want to kick it down Liam Williams' throat. That's not going to get us anywhere. But I feel like they're working Wales out, and yeah, I'm not too concerned yet.
No, I mean I'm not concerned at all. I think we're in control, and what I'd like to see is us to. And in fairness, we've done it because for me, Wales might have left a few points out there.
Yeah, they probably have, and I think England have probably been fortunate. Certainly, their opening 3 points. The try was lovely, but the opening 3 points probably was a bit unfortunate. But then, for any fault that you might have with the referee in the way Jakob Piper and the way he's reffing the game, he is consistent.
They're saying that a lot in commentary, aren't they? Yeah. But it's true, and that's fair enough. He's blown up
the chop tackle.
Both teams for the same.
Well, interestingly, Kyle Sinclair getting pinged at the end, towards the end of the second half for his sort of chop tackle or no arms tackle, or whatever you want to call it. I think it was on Alan Wynne-Jones, but he never actually touched Alan Wynne-Jones. Yeah, he went for his ankles, and Alan Wynne-Jones just hopped over him and carried on. So he actually got pinged for I don't know exactly what that would be a penalty for. He didn't make contact.
I thought he had. I didn't see that.
I feel
enough,
like, and this will affect both English players, fans, Welsh players, and fans. Jakob Piper is, I think, he's almost trying to compete with the players for the pace of the game. I feel like he's making decisions too quickly.
It's weird, a bit weird. Some of them, isn't it? Yeah, it does seem to just.
Well, that maul that he called when he said, it was a maul just before that. He didn't call it as a maul.
You have got a sharper eye than me, sir, because I'm not necessarily picking up on those sort of idiosyncrasies. But overall, I have no issue with him as a ref.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's making everything perfect, but
no, it's overall, even.
I think
it's
even.
Even.
The game be played fair. Yeah.
But I think he should. I think he needs to just give them a little bit more time to. But I don't know. Maybe it'll play to our favour. In the second half. Is there anything that concerns you right now?
No, there's nothing that concerns me. I actually can't believe that England won't get at least one, if not two more tries. I think there's too much class out there. I think they are finding gaps, and Wales can't defend so ferociously for 80 minutes. Like no one can. So.
Except Tom Curry.
Well, Tom Curry, I said Wales can't. I never said,
Oh, right, okay.
England can.
Oh, of course.
So I think we've got a few more tries out there for England. Wales, if they get tries, I feel like it'll be a moment of genius or maybe a sort of bit of luck or something. So I'm not concerned, but when we were both at Twickenham in 2015 World Cup, we were not concerned and we lost the bloody game.
This is true. Something else that was said before the game was that Wales are going to look to ruffle England's feathers and get them to make silly mistakes. And obviously they highlighted Kyle Sinclair. I feel like it's the other way around. I feel like England have been very calm and collected, and Wales are the ones getting a little bit ruffled, which is great.
Yeah, possibly. And Kyle Sinclair's made something like 17 tackles already.
I know, it's crazy. If he carries on like that, he's got to be in the running for man of the match as well.
Tom Curry's already man of the match. I literally don't care.
I already gave it.
He throws 4 interception tries.
I already gave it on Twitter at 23 minutes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Getting a lot of positive reaction from it too, which is nice.
Because the thing that got me early on, I was like, is he actually doing that much work? Isn't he like 8? Like, is it not?
I think you did this. I think you did this joke last week or 2 weeks ago.
It's not a joke. Yeah, I mean, serious. Yeah. But anyway, is it about to start again?
it's bound to be about to start, so we better crack on. Have you got any last-minute message for the listeners?
Come on, boys! Come on, England! We're gonna nail this. 12 points. I said England will win by. I stand by it. Great second half for England, and we'll catch up afterwards.
Fuck! Dan, what the fuck?
I hate rugby. I hate sport. I hate my TV. I hate this chicken shish wrap I've got for dinner. And you know, most of all, I'm going to tell you a little story. This annoyed me. A friend of mine is in South Africa at the moment. He messaged me this morning saying, mate, I've got a bad feeling about today. I just know Wales are going to win. I've replied like, shut up, mate. And he's like, I promise you Wales are going to win. If they do, mention me on your pod. I'm not going to mention his name because he doesn't deserve it. But if you're listening to me, my friend, I hope you get mistaken for an international drug lord and get sent to prison. Not for life. You're still a good mate. 10 years should be all right.
10 years. That's how long it's going to take you to get over it. It's frustrating. Look, first of all, as much as it pains me to say it, fair play to Wales.
Completely.
Deserved winners in the end, and congratulations on setting a new national record. Obviously frustrating from an England point of view. I felt like England definitely won the first, well, not just the scoreline, but they controlled the first half. And they didn't. I don't really know what they were doing in the second half. They just, for long periods, they just seemed to do nothing. It was a physical game, and both sides were, fronted up. But England just didn't really offer anything in attack. And the kicking game, we talked about it in the previous part, the end of the first half. And I was saying, I'm not worried about the kicking game. I feel like they're just trying to get the measure of Wales. The kicking game turned weird in the second half. Loads of long, high kicks. I don't know. It didn't feel to me like it was that same strategy. It felt like it was just kicking for the sake of kicking.
Yeah.
We saw like the one time you decided to give Manu a little run out, he looked dangerous. I don't know what the plan was. And I feel like they didn't know either.
It was weird. So England, it's not like they pussied out or anything, but they didn't take. They had no go forward. They just seemed to be happy to, when they needed to defend, they'd defend, but they wouldn't. There was no urgency, no real aggression. Like you say, they just wanted to kick, and they'd chase it, but they weren't trying to go forward. And
no,
it was really stagnant.
Well, I'm very surprised. I'm very surprised that they went into this game with the idea that if we do what we did against Ireland and France, we'll win again. Rather than saying, look, let's try it out at the beginning. Let's see what they've decided to do to deal with it, and let's use that to identify other areas of the pitch to attack. I mean, I genuinely thought that the kicking game that they had against Ireland and France would mean that today the strategy would be a much more confrontational, upfront, attacking game through the midfield and through the forwards. And at times it was, but a lot of the kicking just seemed kind of wasted. And I know it doesn't help when you kind of accidentally kick it straight into touch or kicking it. But if you're kicking it straight down the throat of the fullback and you've got a fullback like Liam Williams, what happened to scooting it through the gap along the ground into space and putting pressure on them? Which when we did that, it worked. It all turned a bit odd. I mean, look, with the England Rugby Pod. Despite all the haters, and already I'm getting abuse on Twitter, people telling me we should go and stamp on our rose-tinted glasses and fuck off back home and all this sort of stuff. But that's to be expected.
Well, where do they think we are?
I don't know. They obviously think we're someone important and official. But nevertheless, we are the England Rugby Pod. We still believe England can win the World Cup, will win the World Cup in 2019. And I think what England take from this is, you can't take anything for granted. Whether that's what happened or not, you need to utilise everything that you've got, and with some of the players that we've got as well, and what they're capable of. I feel like it's right there. It felt like one element, and I don't know what that element was, but it felt like just one element just didn't quite click today, because they were aggressive. Billy taking the ball off the scrum half punching holes, making ground.
Yeah,
Tom Curry with his turnovers. Carl Sinclair with silly numbers of tackles. Although, obviously, getting a little bit fired up. Although I didn't feel like he was getting crazy. I feel like the ref got on him a bit. It was almost
I think it was overstated.
He'd been targeted by the ref, and I think that's not to say I'm not complaining about the referee, but I think it was one of those situations which happens in games where one player, for whatever reason, usually because of past mistakes, gets kind of scrutinised more than most, and therefore they don't get away with things that others do. And I feel like it reached that stage. But when you've got players who can do the things that they can do, there's just that one little element left that you need to get right, and that's the bit we didn't get right today.
The thing that I took from this, so if you look at, for argument's sake, and I always go to these guys for 2003 vintage, if they played really poorly, the chances are they would still win. We've got a really good team now, but we can't play that poorly and win. So we can't afford to play that badly. We 100% can beat anyone in the world, but if we go to a World Cup and we put in a performance like that, there's a good chance we'll get knocked out.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will be a lesson learned today.
Yeah, I will 100%. And you learn. You obviously you have to learn from your. Let's be honest. I genuinely believe that given the Wales performances that we saw in the first two games, that they won't get a Grand Slam. I think Ireland will upset that party, possibly even Scotland in Edinburgh. Although they've got so many injuries, maybe not. Especially looking at the way they played today. But I think Ireland will beat them. And I think England will end up winning the Six Nations.
I agree. I do. I genuinely agree. That's not rose to glasses stuff. I actually do think.
And it will come down to that bonus point in Dublin. That will have been the key because I think we'll probably get a bonus point in both of our next two games at home against a weak Scotland, playing away, and against Italy. I think England will win the Six Nations, and I hope. I think it's probably good that it's not one of those situations where they win it by losing, because that kind of messes with your head a bit. They've got some time off. They've got 3 weeks until that final game, and if they do manage to win the Six Nations in that final game, I feel like they're back on an upward curve again, and it's a good time to do it. They need to learn lessons from this, and I think the big thing is it's about having a game plan that utilises everybody, because today, they were very physical, particularly in the forwards. They didn't use the backs. Everything seemed to be about how can we stick Johnny May on the end of a kick, and that can work, but it needs to be something that you do.
It can't be every. Can't be every.
No,
tactic.
It needs to be something that you do in that moment when you see that gap.
Yeah. It was. I think it was Jiffy in the commentary said, "What's the point in having players like Manu Tuilagi? What's the point in having like Elliot Daly if you're just not going to try and use them?" We have world-class attacking players.
Yeah.
And yes, that kick thing has worked well and will continue to, but that can't be every move.
Yeah,
it's not. We need to open up, let the guys have a run. Like you say, when Manu had a run, got some space, we saw what he could do.
Well, exactly. He's dangerous. I'm sorry, I've been distracted because I put out a tweet in that 20th minute saying, "Is it too early to give Tom Curry man of the match?" I'm getting a lot of people, presumably Welsh fans, replying yes. Fair play. Touche.
I actually still think he was the man of the match, if I'm honest.
I mean, I do too, but I also agree you can't really give.
I think the winning team deserve it.
Yeah. You have to give it to the winning team, and I think fair play. Liam Williams was awesome. But Tom Curry had a great game. Lots of players did have a great game, and I think they're so close. They're so close. They proved that in the first two games. Unfortunately, it didn't happen today, but they need to. They will regroup.
Sorry, mate. And I'm not looking to necessarily single out people here, but that's kind of exactly what I'm doing. Whose fault do you think it is? Because those tactics, somebody's deciding them. Does it Lionel and Farrell?
I hear what you're saying. I think you'd need to know what was talked about in training to know whether or not there was any kind of this is what you need to do. Because it felt like they were doing it just regardless. It's like if we're in our own half, we kick, which maybe is some sort of tactic. Eddie Jones, he's building towards a World Cup. Was he treating this game as another game that's about learning a lesson for the World Cup? In which case, was he saying, look, it may seem you may want to go and do something else, but this is what we're going to do today because this is maybe not. I think it has to lie with Owen Farrell.
Wales and Cardiff.
I think the kicking. I think Ben Young's kicking was pretty much what you typically see from Ben Young's. I think Owen Farrell's kicking. He's the one that is making the decision about whether to kick or put it wide. And I feel like the blame if you're gonna single someone out probably has to lie with him. But I think. But I also
blame's a harsh word.
It is a harsh word.
I think he could have adapted more.
He's the sort of guy that's going to go away and he will learn from it. He'll go and analyse the game. He'll watch it over and over again, and he'll have the game of his life against Italy. Not that really matters, but if he's even playing. But I think he'll turn that around.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not that he's like messed up. It's not like it's Owen Farrell. Because I'll tell you what, we often talk about like people losing games. Wales won that game. Like Wales deserved it. They won it. England were very poor, but do you know there was like I just got flashbacks of it during that match, giving away silly penalties.
Yeah,
and I was like, I thought you're always going to give the odd one away, but I was like, there was just one too many. And I was like, I thought we got over that.
Wales were very clever at times, so I noticed a lot. So we gave away I think 2 free kicks at lineouts because we were lined up in the wrong position.
Right.
Well, every time the Welsh hooker picked up the ball, he stepped towards the England line. Yeah, so in other words, forced the whole England line, which had positioned itself, that they didn't have to move. Now, the England line aren't looking at the hooker, they're looking at their opposite men. So they're going, well, we're not moving, we're in the right position, or at least they were a moment ago. So they're going, no, we're not moving. And then the referee's gone, you're out of position, free kick. Now, that's not a complaint. I think, that's probably clever tactics. And if that's going to be reffed, that needs to be reffed by the line judge who was there when the hooker picked up the ball and moved. And it's up to the line judge to say, what are you doing? Get back where you're supposed to be. Because, if that wasn't the case, and it was, I saw it with my own eyes. But if it wasn't the case, you've got to be saying, well, what on earth that's got to be the most schoolboy error. Like, why line up in the wrong position if you know that you get penalised for it?
Do you know something I noticed though, which for England a couple of times got done for offside, but there were a lot of times where they didn't get done for offside. And in my head, I'm like, why are you there? It's you're giving away a kickable penalty. Just stay on side.
Yeah.
And there were a few times where they weren't penalised for it. I was like, oh, thank God. And you're like, it was just a little bit sloppy at times, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. After saying at the end of the first half that the ref needed to slow down his decision making, I feel like in the second half he was a bit too slow. So he obviously listens to the pod, even though we hadn't put it out yet, and he heard that complaint, and he did what we asked, and I put my hands up and say I didn't mean to ask it.
So what happened also, which annoyed me, pretty much the opposite to what I said would happen. I was like, I don't think England will let the occasion get to them. I think they'll be smart. I think they'll play a structured game. England seemed to lose their head. Wales seemed to be very smart in how they played.
Yeah, and Wales rose with the crowd. That gave them that go forward. Obviously, a couple of little moments of magic can turn a game. Particularly that kick at the end to seal it. 50-50. If Elliot Daly is stood one step further back from where he is where he's waiting for the ball, he jumps and he gets that ball. They go and then they go back to the penalty, and maybe England get a losing bonus point, or maybe something miraculous happens. But the point is that and then the previous try, again it was a lovely set. Series of phases from Wales, very aggressive. England did well, I thought, not to give away a penalty. And then obviously, it all comes down to that moment, and just you when you watch Wales work their way up from wherever it was, the 10-metre line or wherever it was they started, you get to that 5 metres and you're thinking you're not stopping them. They've gone from the 10-metre line to here, They've retained possession comfortably. Why would they suddenly now not retain? The only way they don't score now is if they make an error. And unfortunately, that's how it resulted. And England did a great job defending it, but it wasn't quite enough. Wales kept the pressure on too long, and I think that was what really got them going. And they kind of rose to it, and England just switched off. I think for a couple of there were a couple of periods of the game. I don't think they just played bad. They didn't just play a bad game. I think they played fine in the first half. Not brilliant by no means. They've played 2 games better than this. But they switched off for 2 key moments in the second half that resulted in, whether that be giving away a couple of the penalties to get Wales back within a point, and then that try, and that just turned the whole game.
Do you think the players on the pitch underestimated the Welsh? Do you think they thought maybe come half time they thought, do you know what, we've got this. They're not going to get back from this. Do you think there was a point where they maybe underestimated them?
I don't know. It's hard to say because as fans, we underestimated them.
Yeah, of course, but that's our job to do it.
And we'll do it again next time. We'll do it when next time Wales play. We'll say that they're rubbish. If I asked you to pick your Wales England 15 now, I doubt you'd change very much, if anything.
It would be the England starting 15 today.
We have Liam Williams, and that's it.
No, not even him.
But I think the players. I think it's different for the players. And a lot of them they play with each other in the Premiership. They played together in playing for the Lions. They know each other a lot better, and I don't think that it works that way. Genuinely, I think maybe they underestimated the impact of the Welsh crowd, particularly the guys that hadn't played there before, or maybe some of the young players that have played there before, but maybe only played there the once. It got in their heads because they knew what to expect.
It's just when we played Ireland, I could just see England was switched on the whole time. They saw the threat against Wales. A few times, like I say, where they switched off, and maybe it's nothing to do with underestimating them. But there was a part of me thinking they don't feel as that threatened.
Yeah,
and it's a dangerous way to do it. And I not necessarily player for player, but like as a team, they saw perhaps the last couple of performances from the Welsh and thought they're not going to get a couple of tries or whatever it may be. And
I don't know. I think that England needed to. It comes back to Owen Farrell. Owen Farrell needed to make the decision to keep ball in hand. 1 out of every 2 times that he decided to kick. That's how many times too many I think he made the decision to put boot on ball. Particularly when you've got Ben Youngs doing a lot of your kicking already. Let him focus on that particular strategy. When the ball comes out, be looking for the opportunity to punch holes. We brought Joe Cock-and-Seager on. I don't think he touched the ball, so we never got to see what he can do. And I know that's towards the end of the game, but nevertheless, when England had the ball, we should have been looking to see if he could do anything.
Well, that's what annoyed me at the end. So if Wales hadn't got that try, I still think we lose the game.
Probably, yeah.
When you bring these players on, like these impact players, there was no thought about let's utilise these fresh legs, these guys who are dangerous. There was no. It just seemed quite an immature performance.
I mean, how much do we miss Mako? Has it highlighted that a little bit?
Mako and Marrow missed loads, but we should have and could have won that easier.
We'll take it. No, you're absolutely right. Really disappointing. You can probably tell from the way that we're speaking in subdued tones instead of Dan leaping around like he's on something he shouldn't be on. Disappointing. I think is the.
Hey, mate. Jesus is my high.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm
Okay.
kidding. That guy's a dick. No, it's mate. Yeah, I'm really like. I don't even know. Right? I
feel sorry for any Englishman who works with a Welshman or woman or English woman, because I think it's going to be a tough week. But England will pick themselves up, they'll regroup, and I think they'll come back strong. And I think by the end of the Six Nations, this will be a result that we've just put down as a bad day at the office, which is what it was, I think.
Yeah, exactly that.
I don't think people need to, anyone, and I've already had one message from someone saying all that stuff about England overhyped and overrated and we need to go home and stamp on our rose tinted glasses and all this stuff. Not at all. Bad day at the office, simple as that. I genuinely believe we play that again. Maybe not tomorrow. I'm a bit tired, but we play that game again and we win.
Yeah. No, of course, mate. I think we win 8 out of 10.
But on the day, Wales were the better side and deservedly won. And from their point of view, fair play. You had a record on the line and you got it. So Eddie was right. Greatest Welsh team ever. In theory, on paper.
Yeah, I will question that one.
Well, they've won more straight games than any other team, any other Welsh team.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that makes you the best team ever. But either way, yeah, I'm just feeling a little bit. I feel exhausted.
Yeah, it was. It was a tough one. All week. I was looking. Like a lot of people were saying that this fixture, they hate it. It's one of those ones they hate the build up to it all week. They're just nervous. I wasn't at all. I was really excited until I sat down to watch the game, and then I started to just get a little bit anxious. And then the game itself, I never really relaxed into watching it. And then, of course, by the end, it was just like, half time. To be fair, actually, I felt confident at half time. I genuinely thought England would do it. I thought they'd come out in the second half and just up the tempo, and Wales wouldn't be able to stay with them. And they didn't do any of those things. So
I felt absolutely fine until I messaged you saying I'm starting to get a few nerves now. Even then, when I messaged you, I thought England. I thought England are going to sneak this, but it's a poor performance. And we never even gave ourselves an opportunity.
No.
But hey, never mind. Bad day at the office.
Bad day at the office.
As you say.
Yeah. They will be back. It's another week off now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's another fallow week. Yeah.
Yeah. So another week off. Time to regroup. Time to sort themselves out. I have no doubt that they'll come back for 2 very strong performances at Twickenham, and we'll be right back on track for the World Cup and the various games that we play before then. And we do play Wales again, I think, before the World Cup in our warm-up games. So.
I hate losing to the Welsh.
I know. It's annoying, but it has to happen from time to time. So they got this one. We beat them there the last two times we've met there. Not this time. It wasn't to be, but
you saying all those years
results.
Ending in 9.
Yeah, well, that's it. They've that's
Okay.
clearly you can't fight that.
I'm not watching it in 2029.
You can't fight fate. Yeah, 2029, peeps. That's the next time Wales beat England.
Mate, that's annoying.
Look,
never mind.
Yeah, well, I was going to say let's leave everyone to just feel sorry for themselves. I suspect we won't get a huge number of downloads tonight. However, we might get a spike in downloads from Welsh listeners. Who want to hear how we go about talking our way out of this one. But there you have it.
Any email that starts, "Hey boyos," I'm just not going to read anymore.
It's a good call. It's a good call, guys. We will try and be a bit more objective in our midweek episode. In fact, it won't be a midweek episode, will it? It'll be like last week because of another fallow week. So probably Thursday, and then again on Tuesday. So we'll get all this covered off then, and then we'll look towards the last 2 games. And once we're feeling a little bit better, and we're over it. But for now, enjoy what you can of the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rugby tomorrow, when Ireland will no doubt take a bonus point from Italy, and we will catch you on Thursday.
Well done, Wales. Shame you had to cheat to win, but no, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's never mind. Yeah, we'll be back stronger than ever on Thursday. Thanks a lot for listening, guys, and please do send any messages with any of your thoughts on the game or anything you want to point out.
Absolutely, and of course, as we always say, if you get the opportunity, we'd really appreciate it if you could head over to iTunes, rate us, review us. And as Dan says, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us, englandrugbypod@gmail.com, or you can get in touch with us on social media at englandrugbypod on both Twitter and Facebook. And we're on Instagram too, although we don't put much on there. But check us out and join the conversation. And we will speak to you guys next time.